Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, live video podcast for people who love to talk about movies as much as they love watching them. Let me grab my show notes here. Join us tonight. Join us tonight as a special guest and I overanalyze yet another shameless product advertisement masquerading as a movie. And that would be, where are we here? Yes, Gran Turismo. Sorry, from, I think that's, is that PlayStation? No, I mean Sony. I mean Columbia Pictures. Where's that rim shot? Anyway, folks, but first, you know what I got to do? I got to dip into the mailbag. First, I want to talk about, we've got a new subscriber. Colin Horton Movie Reviews, a guy I have been following his channel for a while. He's got a great point of view on film and the film business. Definitely check him out. He started subscribing, and I think that's pretty cool. So, go check him out. And then the next one is, let's jump over. Okay, so this folks, is, I wanted to give a personal answer, something from the heart, to a subscriber, a longtime subscriber, Stranger Than Fiction, who found a review of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Well, let me read it for you. All right, what did he say here? He and this is going back a couple of years. Jim and I were a little early in our operation, but I asked him to elaborate and why he didn't like it, and he's, much small talk, lots of trivia. Maybe Raiders and its lore are too well known, but there's nothing I got from this video. Sorry. Stranger Than Fiction, first of all, you do not need to apologize if you didn't like this video. I think, coming back here, I think you're right about it. It is just too well known. Jim and I, that review I actually clipped from a larger chat we had, a kind of does it hold up, and we had done an interview from this American professor about genre and that. It was a great long show, but I kind of understand why you'd feel that way when I cut it out of that. And yeah, it is Raiders of the Lost Ark. What do you say about perfection? Boy, was it good, and wasn't that cast wonderful? So anyway, Stranger Than Fiction, wanted to give you this personal answer. Thank you very much for chiming in. Now, enough of that. Let's, yes. I want to, folks, let me introduce you to the man of the hour, a guest co-host with no equal, the original DMG, one of our channel's best friends. Let's make sure he's unmuted. Dragon Movie Guy.
Thank you. And that's the original DM single G, not to steal the thunder of the original Do double G. So, ba-doom-ch.
You could have just put in a request for that. You do have to, Brian, you got to fill out the form, but.
In triplicate with the carbon copy. Yeah.
Listen, man, I want to, right off the top, I want to thank you very much for joining me tonight. Of course, Jim, my regular co-host, he is in New York City doing his thing with his younger child, his daughter, who is just about to graduate university or just has or going into her last year, whatever. Anyway, they're doing a New York thing, just dad and daughter kind of trip. And so I really appreciate this. Especially, you were saying in the digital green room, you got a couple, not one, but 2 live streams coming up. Why don't you quickly tell us about that?
I do. It's so soon that I don't quite have the thumbnails built yet, but I have one live stream tomorrow and one live stream on Tuesday. The first one, the live stream tomorrow on Monday, is looking at the upcoming fall 2023, including Christmas movies for the rest of this year. A new guest joining me on the channel, and I also have a second live stream on Tuesday looking back at summer 2023, trying a new format. We're going to be looking at the top 5 and bottom 5 movies of summer 2023, both with new guests to my channel, and hopefully a lot of fun having 2 new guests on as well. So
that's
ever looking to expand and reach out and say hello to all of our favorite, all of our fellow creators here on YouTube. So
that is very cool. So folks, yeah, check it out. Of course, you can see Brian's, all his links are in the description already. But of course, we've got at the bottom of our frames our tag, which can be used on Instagram, Twitter, or Zitter.
X.com, whatever
guess
it is
what?
now.
Thank you to Colin Horton. I'm on Blue Sky now. So which makes me to no end very happy. Just to have another microblogging service alternate that has a little more freedom, a little less restrictive than Threads, without quite the anti-Semitism of, that Zitter place. Anyway.
Well, and I've heard that you have to get invited to join Blue Sky.
So far, yes, which is why I got a shout out to Colin Horton. He hooked me up with an invite.
Love it.
I think what happens though, DMG, is that once you're active enough, you get invites, right? And so I'd be happy to hook you up. Of course, after I've taken care of my co-host, my regular co-host, Jim. I don't got to be careful there. All right, Brian, why don't we let's get back to the flick at hand. And that is, all right, where are we here? Yes. Okay, whoopsie daisy. Let me make sure I get my crap together here. We are, of course, talking about Gran Turismo. Not sure which, but whatever. Here's the log line from IMDb. Based on the unbelievable, inspiring true story of a team of underdogs, a struggling working-class gamer, a failed former race car driver, and an idealistic motorsport exec who risk it all to take on the most elite sport in the world. Brian, my friend, mind giving us a quick rundown of who's who in front of and behind the camera?
Yeah, absolutely. There are 5 key names in front of the camera and 1 key name behind the camera to really pay attention to in this one. Archie Madekwe, if I'm saying his name right, he is playing our titular character of Jan Mardenborough. Archie was in Midsummer. I don't remember which character he played in that one, but he was in Midsummer. Also, Orlando Bloom. Yeah, Orlando Bloom is the one playing Danny Moore. He is the
The
executive.
idealistic motorsport executive.
Yeah. And of course, we know Orlando Bloom from the Lord of the Rings movies and the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. David Harbour from Stranger Things plays the uber American accent. Like, it almost sounds like he's overdoing an American accent as the crew chief in this film. And then as Jan's parents, we have Jaimin Hansu as his dad, and we have, of all things, Ginger Spice, Jerry
I
Halliwell,
know, right?
as his mom. And that is depressing to me on so many levels, that Ginger Spice is now old enough to be the mom of a lead character in a movie. But Ginger Spice, yeah, those five characters. And then Neil Blomkamp from District 9 and Elysium is our director in this film. So big names in front of and behind the camera, bringing forth Gran Turismo. I keep having to remind myself that there's no D at the end of Gran. I keep wanting to say Grand Turismo, but it's Gran, I guess, like grandma and grandpa. But yeah, no D at the end of Grand.
Yeah, sure.
It's European.
Yeah. Listen, on that note, I'd better beg. We do already have our Richard L. in the chat. Hola, mis amigos. Hola, Richard. All right, Brian. Now, before we get into the spoiler zone, do you mind give me your see it or skip it recommendation and a spoiler-free sentence or two on why?
Yeah, look, this is, I would say, skip it, a mild skip it. It's not the worst film ever, but the why is they just got it wrong. What they were trying to do, we could clearly see what they were trying to do, and they got it wrong. So that's the spoiler-free version of their version of Gran Turismo. There's such opportunity here. There's such a good premise, and it's a great story. But the story's already been told before, and it's been told better before. So,
That's
sadly, this one, I think, honestly, too, this one would have been better as a streaming series.
Okay, I'm going to cut you off there. You're turning it into a paragraph. And you already put out a review, which we will link. I'll do a pinned comment with that. For myself, Brian, yeah, I agree with you. It's a soft skip it. Actually, it's not even a soft skip it. It's a skip it. Save your money and either go way back and watch Days of Thunder, or even recently you've got Rush or Ford versus Ferrari, or even something a little outside the racing movie, but I think captures that feel far better than this, is Baby Driver. I'm saying my spoiler-free is skip it and watch something else. That doesn't mean, Brian, that this wouldn't be a perfectly fine watch on a Sunday afternoon with nothing else. And man, what the hell? I want low demand.
Today was go to the theater day, so theoretically you could go to the theater and pay $4 for movie tickets.
Yeah,
so
you know what? Because I want to be prepared for this, I went last night. I paid a little more than $4.
So did I. and I'll never get any of those dollars back, sadly.
Yeah, none of them. Nada. Squat. Richard L. chimes in the chat. He says, Gran Turismo, at least it's Spanish for grand tourism. I suspect there's other uses. Okay. Why don't we, you know what? Let's jump into, I think it is time. Let's do it. Let's jump into the spoiler zone.
Bum bum bum.
Bum, bum, bum. Butter. Okay.
Enough of that nonsense.
Boom, boom.
Let me. I've made smart remarks about it on social media and everything. Can you see us? Are you connected to us at all?
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, yes. Are you paying attention? Or are you eating a sandwich off camera there? Before we get into the meat of this flick, I wanted to ask you, it seems to me this has been the year of a product placement, of corporate placement movies, it seems. Some are pretty solid, some are less solid. I recently saw
Making it rain, y'all.
I watched the Super Mario Brothers, and I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't spend money on that. I think I'd be choked if I even had kids. I mean, the kids would have been entertained, so I'm like, well, at least it shut them up. But, Air, I thought, was a pretty solid, even though it's still kind of a, look at how, who saved basketball? Nike.
Michael Jordan's shoes.
Not even the shoes. Not even Michael Jordan. It's almost
His footwear.
We did need the guy, but it was really this middle-aged gambler, problem gambler, marketing executive. That's who.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that? Am I out to lunch? And what are your thoughts?
Well, like it's all about IP, right? So it's all about the branding and how many times do we see movies where they try to get around saying a product name and be the most generic, like, oh well, we just went and had fast food instead of saying McDonald's. So in some ways, I get it. Like, we can make fun of the corporate overlord structure, but in some ways too, when you include branding in a film, it adds to the familiarity of the story, whatever the story it is you're trying to tell. And look, it's all about making money. It's all about the Benjamins. So, as long as it's a good story that's being told, that's the main thing. And if they tell us an origin story about Gran Turismo on top of that, I guess we'll have to sit through it and. Oy.
Well, I think that's where it comes. I mean, I think there's something darker about all these corporate things, like all this corporate propaganda for all intents and purposes. That said, if they're going to propagandize, if they're going to evangelize for the current economic model, make it entertaining. And I think this one, it misses the mark. Now, you had said it was a skip it for you, a soft skip it, but still a skip it. What did work for you in this flick, Brian?
Well, I liked some of the racing scenes, and mostly what I'm talking about is I liked the augmented reality of morphing the racing video game point of view along with the real racing footage. Obviously, it's all probably CGI at this point, but the fact that they were able to show the driver's point of view, Jan's point of view as a video game driver while he's driving the courses, the real life courses, I thought they did that pretty well, showing how he would see things as a gamer, along with how the rest of us would see it if you're watching it on TV. So I thought they did that part of it. So, if I'm the one saying the CGI was the good point of the film, this film has a lot of problems.
Like that. I certainly, myself, actually, other than a few gags, I enjoyed, they'd have the little place markers. I enjoy racing games. Forza was more my thing, but I liked the more realistic the racing game was. I like sitting in them. I like, so I enjoyed some of the call outs to a racing game, the little pins as he would fall behind and move ahead in the race order, in the placing order. That said, I up to the third act, really, I did not feel that visceral punch that other better racing movies gave, and I was in a fancy new theater. AVX is the brand Cineplex has for fancy new, and I was sitting in the right place. But that first act, at no time in the first act was I going, wow. Was I going, boy, I'm in the moment. Third act, though, yeah, I was in it. I was enjoying myself. I felt they really kind of delivered a visceral racing experience. Of course, because it's set in Le Mans, and folks, we are in the spoiler zone. It is set in Le Mans. It can't help but be compared to Ford versus Ferrari.
True.
And unfortunately, the other one does better.
I think just about every one of them does better.
It's kind of okay. What about this? Like, one of the feelings I got was, it's like I feel like I'm watching something where the parts are actually pretty good. I even bought Orlando Bloom, who's maybe a talent I've never really kind of enjoyed as much. That's just his style.
Like Legolas? You don't like Legolas?
But here I bought him, and I bought his delivery. I bought all the talent. They all seem to be committed to the bit. What did you think? Is any performance like stand out to you, or?
Well, I thought Archie Medically as Jan, he did a decent job doing the point of view character as our lead character, but we never.
I thought he was super sympathetic.
Yeah, but we really don't spend enough time with either Orlando Bloom's character or David Harbour's character to really get why they're at where they're at. I mean, we do spend that one scene with David Harbour and Jan 2/3 of the way through the film, where we do get a little bit of history there, but they keep poking at it. They keep pointing to it indirectly and not really actually talking about it for 2/3 of the film. And we just end up having another race. I think structurally, this film doesn't pay enough attention to the characters in it, so that we don't care about the characters as they're going through everything they're going through. And honestly, Orlando Bloom's character, I thought he should have been there at the beginning and been there at the end, but a third of the film that he's in there, he's just sort of there. He's not really doing much of anything. So I thought he was utterly underutilized for most of the film.
I think he's part of the problem here. Like a lot of these corporate movies, can't have any real bad guys. You gotta, it's really hard. And so let's compare this to probably the best comparable is Days of Thunder. And David Harbour is definitely set up in that Robert Duvall role. Dennis Quaid, Orlando Bloom. But whereas I think in Days of Thunder and Top Gun, what were they saying about Days of Thunder? It's Top Gun in a race car, Top Gun of the track. But there, you've got this young man, Tom Cruise, wanting that acceptance, that atonement with the Father, but he's dead. And so you feel that. And so all of a sudden, these other characters, the head of Tom Skerritt in Top Gun or Robert Duvall in Days of Thunder, become that father figure. They're doing that in this movie, except Jimon Hansu does exist. They, and we know he's got a conflict there. I mean, and that's another thing is because they wanted to hew so closely to Jan Mardenberg. Mardenborough. Thank you very much. Thanks for the correction. They want to hew so close to his actual life. It's like, I got to admit, I'd be like, inspired by a true story, bump off Jibon Hansu early. Jerry Halliwell can be the, your father loved you. Did he really? Meanwhile, he's all guilty because he told dad to F off and then he's dead. Like you never get any real stakes,
Well, and I think that's that's one of the many problems with this film is because it is a biopic and it's based off of actual real people. I don't...
as you said, IP.
Yeah, well, look, it's one of those things where I don't know Jan Marlborough. I did do a quick Mardenborough. I did do a quick Google search, but I haven't looked up anything about the real life person and his history other than he's 31 years old and he actually is a driver.
The accident did happen.
Well, you figure it's car racing, so that's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But just watching this film, it felt like they were trying to rip off Days of Thunder scene by scene and not make
Certainly
it seem
beat
like
by
they're ripping
beat.
off. Yeah, and
Yeah.
but they didn't do it well. And so because they were trying to do everything but rip off Days of Thunder, they made all I kept thinking while I was watching it was, wow, Days of Thunder did this scene better, and when are they going to kill off the co-racer to make Jan go through his crisis of consciousness?
When is Goose? I mean,
yeah, like when is the guy gonna die?
Lauda, I mean,
because it's coming, and
Yeah.
ironically, and I just kept laughing because like Johnny, the guy, the
you got to
rival guy
take
at the
my
racing
ride.
school-
My kids need college.
yeah, and I
Can't
just
get
kept
back
laughing
in the
like
car.
when they're at the driving school at the reality TV show, there's the Johnny character, who of course he's named Johnny. I don't know if there actually is a driver named Johnny, but of course it's Johnny the rival. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's Iceman.
Maddie.
So
Maddie. It was Maddie,
Maddie,
the rival.
that's it.
Yep.
Maddie.
Yeah.
Of course it's Maddie.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. That's Iceman. That's like so, and that's what I mean.
It's not
There's
Cedric or Seymour. Of course it's Maddie.
right, and that's like they have all these parts that were assembled, and again, you can't.
Like a car.
If I was writing this and I said it's about a video game, going back to something you said, imagine we said, you know what, we're not going to worry about Gran Turismo. We're going to base it on a true story, but we're not going to worry about that the video game is Gran Turismo. All of a sudden, because it's right at the beginning of the movie, they're going, no one can get hurt. In the film, Nissan's like, listen, everyone's got to be responsible. And so, and I'm sure that was the deal. Well, you want our name on it. No, we look good. We do not look like we're putting any of these children at risk. In a movie version, if Neil Blomkamp didn't have to go, well, go check see what Tokyo wants, somebody would have died in the school. You would have bumped someone off in the school, and then, or the nemesis, when he could have died, would have died. Like nobody, like they have one reference. We never really see anything too terrible, even though somebody was killed. That car accident really did happen. His car did hit a bystander, and killed the bystander. I mean, it's, you want to be that close to the action. I'd be one of the ones saying, well, I don't know, it's your fault, but he really wanted to be close. What do you mean I got shot as I was hanging out right beside the gun range? What? Why wasn't somebody protecting me from myself? Do you know what I mean? Like there is a great potential story here, but it's almost like they were hooped from the get-go.
Well, like for example, and Days of Thunder did this, Days of Thunder did it better. Just the drama of the situation. Like for example, with Nissan, when Nissan as a corporate, it's a big corporation, it's a big company. If they say we really can't have anyone's blood on our hands, you have one shot at this, or we're pulling the funding. So that could have been played up for great drama in the situation. I'm sure it was relatively realistic to the situation they were probably in terms of, well, we see how this could go well, but we could see how it could go poorly. So, but the fact they don't really play into that drama of, dude, we're going to lose our funding unless you can win this race and do it safely or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's there in Days of Thunder. It's not here.
The young man is too, like, and this is I really enjoyed the lead's performance, Archie's performance. He's so sympathetic that by the time you get to it, I'm like, I want him to win anyway. I'm enjoying myself. That third act, I enjoy myself. But you're right. Unlike that should be the subtitle of this video. Days of Thunder did it better. You sympathize with Tom Cruise's character, but the character has an edge. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He takes risks, like he's dangerous, much like he was. Let's go to Days of Thunder in the Sky, Top Gun. He's dangerous. He's a risk taker, and everyone's too, Jan, hey, I don't look bad. I'm not a bad guy. Nissan, well, we're certainly not looking bad. Gran Turismo, I mean, of course you could learn how to be a race car driver out of our thing. Not, well, we'll do a contest and cherry pick the ones that we can turn into race car drivers.
Well, and look, that's part of it.
And then, like, no one's going to look bad. FIA, we're responsible. Like, I mean, an operation that was run by an old Nazi. Sorry, British fascist. Like, these are not good people. They're all kind of terrible. Okay, I don't know about the guy who created the actual game, but do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, no, all our reputations have to be good. So you got one guy, I don't know, Moe Chandon, the luxury brand. I think it's all part of LVMH, but the gold cars, the shiny, ridiculous gold cars.
Oh, okay.
They're the only ones who go, yeah, we're okay with looking like, here, just a sec here. We're okay with looking like holes, because that's part of our brand.
Yeah, it's sort of
we are meant for rich young We're good with that.
If anything,
but otherwise, everyone else has got to look good and responsible. There's that one moment, and we don't even see that ended up on the cutting room floor, where David Arbor and Orlando Bloom are having a thing where Orlando Bloom, it's a thousandth of a second. Let's get the guy he's camera ready, Maddie, and they're having a moment, and it's like, we don't get what do you mean? It's to quote Jim, it's like, we didn't even get to the fireworks factory.
Yeah, you're right. It's the itchy and scratchy show with no fireworks.
You only saw the fireworks factory. You never got to it. They never had that. So all of a sudden, for me, it's like, what is this movie? And I know it's got themes, but there's a part of me going, what is this movie even about? Like, what are we really picking here? You got I want to earn my father's respect, and I want my father to be proud of me. But it's almost like a check. If you were to say, Brian, hey, this is what this movie's really about, what would you say it is?
Product placement. Sadly, and I think that this could have been a whole lot more. Like for example, if they would have chosen Maddie over Jan, that would make a lot of sense. Or if they
And
would have
Jan
said,
had to fight his way back in.
or more specifically, if they would have said, well, look, Jan, you're a nice guy, but you're boring. And we need excitement. This is the world of racing. We need social media followers. You need to step up your social media game and have a million subscribers, followers by the time you hit your third race. You have to have a million followers. You need to do something interesting, something that's going to turn up the volume, turn up the drama. Because honestly, I don't think much. I just my feeling is I don't think much of this story actually happened to Jan. Like, for example, when I Googled him, the first thing that pops up is that Jan was on season 3 of whatever that reality TV show was, of the car racing show. So it's not even like they were showing in the film where he was the first one they found and he wins season 1 and goes on to become a huge success.
Oh,
Apparently he was on season 3, at least according to a Google search that I did, which, take that for what it's worth. But
you're thinking about that. I dove in a little more. Like he was the first one to win this contest. But then there's that F1 series that I think he was in. But here, just a sec. You know what? Why are we pissing around when I could literally just okay, blah, 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 blah. University.
And the thing is, even if he actually was on season 1 of this reality show.
Well, but remember, it wasn't a reality show. It was just a contest. They really just do a contest and then train them and turn them into something.
Well, because they show them doing the interviews during the contest, so I guess that's just me being mistakenly assuming it's for a reality show when they're doing.
Well, no,
interviews
it's
throughout.
all that was all training. Sorry, that was all. Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
not it. In many respects, like I feel like like a lot of these movies where I enjoyed some of it and kind of thought it was sort of mushy otherwise. I'm like, I would have loved to have seen the script that got bought, not the shooting script after everybody's notes, but the one that got bought. Because there was a script that got bought that everyone's going, yeah, we're excited about this. Of course, we'll have to modify, but this is great. And you even see, because there's, it's first story by credit went to somebody. And then writing credit went to a couple of different folks. And then, of course, Neil Blomkamp will have his fingerprints all over it. But I'm thinking, going back to much like, this is like the heart of my criticism of Barbie in a way, is it's like, you want Mattel's logo, you want Nissan, that all has a cost. If that's what you want, and going back to what you'd said earlier, and that would be the meta theme, or not the meta theme, the subtext, the unintended subtext is, what makes it legitimate is the logo. And it's like, well, guess what? There's a price you pay. You get a mushy anodyne story where there's no sleaze. The girl's a nice girl from back home. You get one, like there's no dirt bags. There's no violence. There's no, you're going to get an anodyne sort of mushy result. And that, I think, is the subtext of it is like, we're all good people here. It's only bad people do bad things once in a while. But meanwhile, it's like, well, that's the price you pay if you want the logo.
I disagree.
Everyone gets a say.
I do disagree with that in one setting, in saying that I don't think it has to be mushy and without teeth, because you can have.
Okay, show me one.
Draft day. the Kevin Costner movie about the NFL draft. You have the NFL brand in there, and yet there's a
But
ton of pressure being seen from all sides, from the
but
public,
did
from the owner, from the
NFL
league.
like, I mean, because there's some things where you use your, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like
Input,
you can
gravitas.
no support. If we look at anything about football, is NFL Films making it? Well, then everything's going to be fine and there's going to be no steroids. But you can make a movie about the NFL and say it's about the NFL, and the NFL doesn't get to go, well, you haven't paid for the corporate rights. That's not actually the thing. Half the time they're trying to avoid it is because they're like, well, if you want your name in here, really, pay us for it. That's why everyone Greeks things. But unless you're saying the NFL endorsed this, like that's really about it, is did it endorse it?
Well, not only did they endorse it, it was all the names and logos. It was all of the.
But
it was all
I'm
of
saying
the,
I could make a movie with all those names and logos without getting their permission because they are public actors. I get to make a movie about that. Now, am I running the risk if I say something that's really crazy that I might get slandered or that I might end up in court? Sure, but let's say though, because I'm not as familiar with draft day, maybe they were a little looser. That's one. Like, we've watched a lot of fucking movies here where they're all corporate mush. Because there's a cost. You want that fucking airplane. You want to get on that track. You want all that stuff. There's a cost to that. And they're all going to be, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look evil. I don't want to look like a womanizing piece of.
Well, look, I don't think they have to. The making money is not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't think all these companies have to be portrayed.
Said no. Whoa, I didn't say they can't make money. This isn't an anti-capitalist comment. This is an anti-corporate branding comment. You can make money shitting on these people or make money making realistic movies about these people. What I'm saying is that the corporation, if you want their support, they're going to have a say. And that say is going to be, well, I don't like looking that bad. I don't want to look that bad. Patent. Actual critical, a kind of a nuanced view of Patton. At times quite critical of him. You know who wasn't critical of? Omar Bradley. And who was their technical advisor? Omar Bradley. Who got the American Armed Forces to give them all that extra shit for nothing? Omar Bradley. So all of a sudden, Omar Bradley's, I have the notes. Top Gun. It's just escapism. Fuck. Shit is coming out of saying, yeah, we want to support this because we want to change the public's opinion about us from the Vietnam War. And
It's all a
the
military
US,
recruiting tool.
U.S. Air Force was going, wow, this was successful. They made an anodyne movie. It's a good movie, but it certainly isn't critical of the U.S. Air Force.
Or the Navy.
None of them. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the Navy. I forgot. They're naval aviators.
Naval aviators.
Aviators.
The over-the-top American accent.
Yeah. And so they probably didn't give two shits about, hey, he can be a risk taker. He can be all these things. We're talking about pilots. But we look good. And yeah, the Navy looks good. Like it's a 2-hour ad for the Navy. And what, the 80s they were doing so great? They were doing so great. 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 They were do
Yeah, well, it's look, it's.
I
But my,
mean,
my point is
you know
that
what? I can rewind, and you know what?
yeah,
I have to give it to you. Is it possible? Yes, it is. You know what? We've just spent how often we're talking about Top Gun, NASCAR. NASCAR looks good. Some of the players within the film look nasty, but NASCAR looks good. NASCAR is the one that lays down the law. NASCAR looks good. That no one cheats, and NASCAR never thinks about letting people do stupid things because, well, it'll be good for our brand. NASCAR looks good. And so, yeah, you know what? You can have that corporate support and still make a very good movie. So I will
and
modify
even
what I'm saying here. This had too many players who are like going, I'm not looking bad, including probably the subject. You know, Jan's like, no, I'm going to look like the hero, right?
well, look, I think it wasn't so much having too many chefs in the kitchen as it was just not knowing what they wanted to do in terms of storytelling. Because like for example, when you're budgeting anything, whether it's money or time, you have a limit somewhere. And when you're budgeting, for example, for a department at a university, you can either vertically cut where you eliminate an entire department, or you can horizontally cut and go 10% off the board across the board. Unfortunately, this is a film that tries to tell too many stories in a 2 hour, 15-minute movie. And so you end up with 5 or 6 different acts to this film that are so fast paced that instead of doing, okay, let's do 3 solid segments here, we're going, okay, we're going to try and fit everything into one film. And by trying to include everything, you really tell a story about nothing, sadly.
I disagree with you. Although I think you're onto something. You'd earlier said this film could have made a great series. And yeah,
5 or 6 episodes.
you know what? You could. But I think it could have also made a great film. And it's about the edit. It's about going, wow, we're spending a lot of time in training. How much more montage can we do? Because we've got a lot of training here. Can we cut that in half? Because we want to get them on the track quick. Heck, can we get them on the track really quick? And that he's got to train up as he's on the track. Although I suspect the FIA is saying, we would never let them on the track if they weren't ready. You know, like again, it's a lot of notes. So it's not that they're trying to do too much. I think it's like, no, some editing could have really helped, some compression.
That's just it. But the editing is part of that storytelling. The montage, as we see in Days of Thunder, when they want to compress time and not have a 3-hour film, they go, okay, we're going to do 5 races real quick here. We're going to take 2 minutes of screen time. We're going to show 5 races.
I know, but now you're saying the exact opposite of what you said before.
No,
either
it's
it's a
exactly the same
series
thing.
or you fucking do it quicker. You do it tighter. But also, I'm throwing all that out. Where are the emotional stakes? It's not about, the editing isn't great, but you could have made a tighter film. There's still no emotional stakes. At no time am I really feeling the conflict with his dad, because we got a few moments where he obviously loves him and he's got a hang up about, I want to be a racer. It's like, which feels a little ridiculous, but no stakes. He never has stakes with his romantic interest. He just stalks her on social media. And then she comes out. Same with the dad. There's no, you could have actually had more of Jerry Halliwell calling and say, you got to talk to your father. He's really hurt. Well, what about how he hurt me? But no, Jimon Hansu, it's like he doesn't exist until the end of the movie. You could have had more conflict between, because Orlando Bloom's character is pretty much on side, except for the one moment of, hey, let's pick Maddie, or once in a while there's a bit of friction, but there's no, hey, this guy could screw me. Dennis Quaid is it not Dennis Quaid, Randy Quaid in Days of Thunder ends up screwing him by running two teams, right? So all of a sudden he's getting betrayed by the guy who's like, there's no increase in emotional stakes. The kid is very sympathetic, but he's not like, I'm not, at no time am I really invested in any of his goals or the risks he's taking towards these goals. And
right, but that's exactly what I'm saying is by having stories that are too fast and too short, by having 5 acts that are too short, you're not telling the story out completely.
Then you cut stuff. Like you're not even proposing cutting. You're just saying make it longer.
No, I'm saying you do 3. You keep the same runtime. You do 3 acts instead of 5, and you take 2 of those acts and compress them into a quick montage to bridge the act.
I think you've just changed your opinion. But
no, that's exactly what I was just saying.
Yeah, I
keep
disagree.
it shorter, keep it quicker.
I am saying though that puts us into final thoughts, my friend. Why don't you make a final case for that?
Look, this is a film that it should have been 3. I think a traditional 3-act structure. I think it really should have been an hour and a half type film. If you're going to do 2 hours and 15 minutes, make it a 3-act structure with more invested into the story being told, and take out 2 of the acts and make them quick 2-minute montages to where you're doing 5 races in 2 minutes, to where you're showing the passage of time, so you can actually have character development. So you can actually have more scenes like the one where Jan is listening to Kenny G. That was a great character moment, and unfortunately we only get 1 or 2 of those scenes where we actually find out anything about his character other than he's on social media. I think a bunch of other changes like that could have made this film a lot better, but sadly, I think this is a film that was decided largely in committee for reasons we were talked about and otherwise. But yeah, I would say this is a definite skip for me. I liked some of the CGI, I liked some of the special effects, but for being a biopic, and I like biopics, I think this one really drops the ball by being beholden to Days of Thunder, or at least they couldn't get Days of Thunder out of their head for whatever reason. So to me, it's a definite skip, sadly.
I'm not sure. The Days of Thunder thing isn't necessarily bad.
No, it's a great
flick. I would love to have seen the script that got bought, because that's usually great. Everyone's going, wow, it's the one where people say, we're making this movie, greenlight it. And then modifications come.
It almost reminds me. Like, it makes me wonder.
Let me finish here.
Okay.
I imagine this movie though open with real, either where I feel like it's real racing, so that I feel the visceral stakes of someone putting their life at risk. And then all of a sudden the car goes up and it's flipping and it's spinning, and then cut to the beginning of the story and how he gets to that point. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, something really happens. First of all, does he live? And even though, I don't know, Apollo 13 or a number of other true stories are like, I know he lives, but what happened in that moment? How does that? And all of a sudden you can have that lead up to that amazing moment, and then the what's the word I'm looking for? A lead up to an amazing moment, and then the post into the third act, he's got to overcome that fear of getting back on the track again, and he's still got to win because there's all these assholes who are saying he can't do it and everything. And I think that would have been a way better movie. I think, notwithstanding all the criticisms you both of us have made here, in the end, it fails in the first act because I never feel the excitement of racing in the first act. And I never really feel that this kid is in a deep conflict with his father. In part, everyone's kind of nice. I'm like the anti-Grace Randolph here. you do need you need a little bit of bag in the film to make us kind of pick a side. I know I'm supposed to be on Jan's side, but at the end of it, I'm like, well, I'm kind of along for the ride. And, oh, it's getting cool now. And he is charming. He's great on screen. I want to see more of him. But yeah, the parts are the sum of these parts is the whole is less than the sum of these parts.
Yeah, I mean, and look, even with the stuff with his father, you don't have to make the dad a douchebag, but there has to be a miscommunication there, and the fact that his dad loves him and he wants them to have a good life, but he just doesn't understand his passion for racing. So he doesn't have to be a douchebag. It just has to be a misunderstanding.
Again, imagine, as the car's about to go flip over, and then you cut to the argument at the dinner table. What are you talking about? That thing's dangerous. And again, you can have almost the same movie, but you're already like, ooh, this could be bad. There's going to be a bad part. But it's like, well, it looks like he's getting his dream, but is it going to be dashed? As the car lands. And bottom line, I should have been in that edit suite. That's what I'm saying, Brian. Should have been in the edit suite.
You know what it feels like, and just kind of going based off of what you've been saying between the studio and studio notes, it almost feels like whoever the point of contact with the studio was probably at some point during the production process was like, movie we really love? Days of Thunder. Days of Thunder did this great. So then the poor director and the producer's like, well, I guess we could put something in like that. And the guy's like, yeah, but Days of Thunder did this. And it may have been something like that. I actually think it
started at Days of Thunder, and they just, we want to make a modern Days of Thunder about this, which is fine.
He's on his phone a lot.
Wow,
that'll be me. That'll get the kids.
You better really deliver. No, I think unlike Days of Thunder, where they really only had one corporate person they had to kind of keep happy, NASCAR, here it's like, it's Nissan, it's the PlayStation players. So you got Sony over it all, right? But they're like, hey, we're in this because we think we're going to sell a lot of games. And so guess what? This is like squaring the problem, because you've got, they're all part of the same corporate operation, not Nissan, but Sony and PlayStation. It's the, hey, synergy and cross promotion and, oh my God, mush.
Well, and look too, there was too much story that they were trying to tell in this film. Like the other film that I kept thinking about, other than Days of Thunder, that I was thinking about while watching this film yesterday, was The Last Starfighter. And if you think about The Last Starfighter, that's all about a kid who plays a video game who then gets recruited to go off and have this big adventure. That's basically the first act of this film. There's no outer space, but my point is that they tried to squeeze too much story into one film. So this, if anything, this could have been a Gran Turismo 1, 2, and 3.
Here's the thing, though. This is why I disagree with too much story. It's not too much story. It's not... because if you think of the bigger beats, the super beats, comparing it to, if we compare it to Days of Thunder, the only super beat we don't have is the family. And I'm not saying that that's what sinks this movie, but otherwise, there's a girlfriend, there's training, there's the fight with the father figure, there's an accident, there's the big race after a lot of little races. I don't think there's too much story here. I think there's just not efficient storytelling. And again, for all the time they spend on the screen, no emotional stakes. They're spending too much time in some areas without, as you say, that character development, or in those moments, I don't feel any character development. Also, one more thing before we go, Brian, you know, when they bring back two of the old team for the Le Mans thing?
Yeah.
Which he did place in his bracket. Like, there's touchstones to the real story here. Do you not think they should have brought back the woman driver? Like, there's a part of me kind of going,
she had more personality.
I remember her. I didn't remember the other guy. I mean, Maddie, of course you're going to bring Maddie back. Maddie's coming back. But yeah, it's like, why wouldn't you bring her back? Why? Because there wasn't a girl in the, like, you've changed enough of the actual racing stuff. Well, they didn't bring back anyone. That's just made up for. That was made up for the story, right?
The 24-hour of Le Mans was made up for the story?
No. The bringing people back for Le Mans. It's like, no, they're compressing. He had a career of a few years by the time he was at Le Mans. The accident happened in 2015, but yeah, he was a professional race car driver for a few years by the time he was selected for Le Mans.
Does Le Mans need 3 drivers like they had in the film?
I don't know.
Yes, I don't follow car racing that closely.
Of course it does. Yeah, because you're not driving for 20. The individual isn't driving for.
That's what I'm saying is, did they bring back the same drivers in the film that they used in real life?
No, because they didn't bring anyone back is what I'm saying. That was not part of the narrative. By then he was racing for a team and whoever they had hired. Like he was
completely different people then.
It's just fucking different people. Like they're compressing about 4 years of his racing into 7 races. Yeah, so, and honestly, who cares? They could have brought the girl back. She had more personality.
Well, and that's part of how bad the storytelling was in this film, is the fact that they didn't even really establish rivalries with other drivers other than the Kapka guy from the very beginning of the film. And Maddie, when they finally come down to that final
which
race,
they
and
don't
it's like,
keep,
well, there's the guy in the gold car,
because Maddie should have been hired by the Kappa team.
Yeah.
Like there's and this is what I mean. Like, where's the conflict? It's not too much storytelling. I would say it's not that there's too much. It's just not done well. Like it's not the choices. It's not the amount. It's the choices that they made. If they were great choices, we'd all be saying at the end of it going, wow, was it, I could have handled a bit more. There are films that go 2 hours and 50 minutes where you feel like, and well, how dare I say it? Star Wars managed to jam in like all kinds of characters.
Well,
in 2 hours and 5 minutes. 2 hours and 5 minutes, Brian. Star Wars. And we don't meet the hero for the first 20 minutes.
Let's put it this way. I just looked it up. Days of Thunder, 1 hour and 47 minutes. So Days of Thunder, which this film is basically copying whole cloth, is a half an hour shorter. Except for the family thing. Well, but that's what I'm saying is that it has very similar structure in a half an hour less screen beats. Time, and yet there's more time spent in Days of Thunder on character, and that's not done here. Yeah, clearly the filmmaking in this film is the choices.
Sloppy. It's the choices. The choices
they make
made.
Bad choices.
Well, and the you know what? I suspect like how much of it is. It's like, well, we need more of the video game. All right, sure, we can have more in the training where they're, because that's exciting. They should have done a
scroll at the beginning of the film.
It is. It's insane. This is what I mean. It's like, yes, I appreciate that the whole idea is in a car. Again, imagine a first scene And they do not do this effectively. In the third act, you're really kind of feeling that you're racing, that it's in a real car on a real track with other real cars. I never felt that in the first act. But again, imagine instead of a first scene, it's Le Mans. You have all the other stuff that's going on, including the paratroopers and the flag and all that other shit. And he's in the car and he's racing and he's feeling it. And then all of a sudden, cut to a terrible accident, end over end, great foreshadowing of an accident later, end over end, cut to breakaway, and he's like, reset. And you're like, whoa, oh, fuck, he was in a video game the whole time. That would have been, then I would have been like, again, like, what the hell just happened there? Like, they don't do that. They take a very straightforward sort of, it's not this then, or this therefore, or this but. It's all, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then there was this accident, and then.
Well, look, you can do references to all those things, but much like they talk about with the actual process of racing, where there's a through line, where there's an actual path that you follow, the fact that this film doesn't have a clear through line for the story to follow, and that they don't cut out things that don't need to be there, they try and put everything, including the kitchen sink, into this film. It just goes to show that they didn't know what story they wanted to tell other than Days of Thunder.
Again, we're talking past each other as usual. And on that note, my friend, it's time to wrap her up. Okay, everybody. Yes. Thanks, DMG. Thank you for coming out. Richard L., thanks for chiming in on the chat early there. Folks, down below, first of all, there'll be a link to Brian's review of this film. Also to like and subscribe. And then over here, there'll be some BS that YouTube wants you to see. Good night, everybody.